Okay, we're recording.
Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the November 11th Curriculum Committee meeting. And from the Board of Ed, we have myself, the chair, Dr. Bernadette Kingsley. We have Mr. David Felton and Miss Melissa Walker.
Great. And from the board, we have Superintendent Barbiero, we have Principal Ward, we have the Director of School Counseling, Meredith Starzyk, and we have the Director of People Personnel Services, Tracy Edwards, and I am the Assistant Superintendent, Tina Hankel. Hello, everyone, and happy Veterans Day.
Okay, so the first item on the agenda is to approve the previous meeting minutes from October. I think we have one adjustment to make sure that we record that Melissa Walker was in attendance. But with that addition, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
One very minor item, and I'm in a noisy environment, so I'll stay muted. It says that we ended at 3:03 a.m. We do have long meetings, but they're not traditionally that long. Although Monday might be.
Okay,
All right.
sounds good.
I'll make those adjustments.
Okay, then with those adjustments, I move that we approve the minutes from the Curriculum Committee meeting from October.
Do you have a second?
I second.
Thank you. Minutes are approved.
Okay, great. So I just want to review the purpose of our subcommittee meeting for curriculum, which is to collaborate between the Board of Education stakeholders and school-based leadership, where we discuss all aspects of curriculum, instruction, and school culture and climate in the Weston Public Schools. We are meeting tonight virtually, so I just want to remind everyone of our norms. We should have our cameras on where possible. We want to make sure that our microphones are muted unless we are engaging in a conversation. We want to try to be present and engaged, seek to understand, and always make sure that we keep our discussion and comments on topic towards the agenda so that we can be mindful of time. If we do need to add another agenda item for the next curriculum committee because it's not here, we can definitely do that. Moving forward, I am going to just, if it's okay, Bernie, to just restructure a little bit of the updates tonight. We're going to have Director Tracy Edwards first just give her update around special education so that she can click off. She has some other meetings that she has to attend to. Is that okay, Tracy?
Yes, that sounds great.
Sounds good on our end too.
Wonderful. Okay, so Tracy, why don't you take it away and talk a little bit about the updates for special education and talk about the next meeting.
Yes, so the primary update really for special education today is that we have our next parent meeting which is next week on November 15th at 4:30 in the Weston Middle School Library. We will be talking in that meeting primarily about CT SEDS. And at the same time, I will be giving a brief overview. I think we talked about this actually in our last Board of Education curriculum meeting, but a brief overview of the new dyslexia guidelines for the state of Connecticut. So we're hoping to see families participate in that meeting as they did last time. And Tina, I think we're maybe tag teaming some of the other updates in this area or not. That's really the primary update specific to special education.
No, great. Thank you. No, that's the only a topic that you were responsible for updating. I'm going to complete the other two because I know you had to jump off. So you're good to
Awesome.
go. Thank you for
so
coming.
much. Thanks, everybody.
Good to see you. All right, next, we're going to bounce back to the beginning part of the agenda where I'm joined with Principal Ward and Director of School Counseling, Meredith Starzyk. We're going to, the first topic on the agenda is the Weston High School Program of Studies Review. And tonight, we are going to be providing you with a brief overview of our plan of action for this coming school year. And Megan and I are just going to tag team and give you a little bit of an update on where we stand with that Program of Studies review and what we hope to accomplish this school year moving into next school year. Megan and I are both new, as you all are aware. And so with that comes some opportunity for us to really dive a little deeper into our program of studies and look a little further around course trajectories, course offerings and curriculum. So this coming school year, Megan and I, in partnership with Lisa, of course, we've really wanted to ask for a request to extend any new courses or new approvals to courses in the program of studies for the upcoming school year. And the reason for that is we want to make sure that we're very mindful and meticulous about any new courses that we're offering for the upcoming school year, because we want to be able to have some opportunities to dive into deeper conversations with our curriculum teams, our curriculum leaders at each department, and seek to understand and ask further questions around what interests our students have around some of these courses. What does the course trajectories look like so that there's a balance between advanced placement courses, college preparatory courses, so that we're not just frivolously adding courses where we don't need to add courses, or we're very mindful of any courses that may be declining in enrollment before we say that we're not offering it any longer in the program of studies. We also want to have conversations around the option of alternating courses. Sometimes we offer one course one year and then we alternate and offer a different course the following year. So we want to be mindful of that option and make sure that before we make those decisions, we have enough time to gather information, ask questions before we make further decisions. I've come into the role a little bit late on this, and Megan is new, and so it takes us a little bit of time before we want to make just frivolous decisions, because the program of studies are typically being presented in November and finalized in December. So for this coming school year, we are proposing, and we did get approval from Lisa, to use this year as a reflection year and an opportunity to really engage in some further discussion before we propose any changes to the program of study. Megan, did you want to add? Meredith, do you want to add anything? Those are some of my notes based on this conversation for the program of studies.
Yeah, I think that we definitely have some course proposals that were submitted this year. So what I, shared with our curriculum instructional leaders, who are also heavily involved in their subject area, that this is not a no, as Tina said, this is an extension. So we have those course requests. It's something to consider over the course of this year, and that those would be considered for the 24-25 school year. So we're just going to be a little bit more thoughtful, again, as I get the lay of the land here at the high school and having conversations. And I know that there are a lot of really good ideas. I think I mentioned it at this meeting before too. We have a number of singletons in a school that enrolls 720 kids too. We just want to make sure that as we add courses, we're also validating other courses at the same time. So we just want to make sure that, as Tina said, we're not being impulsive in our decision-making and just being really thoughtful about our offerings, and also considering post-secondary opportunities for our students as well, and how we're pairing our choices and our programs here.
Yeah, and if I could add to Megan's statements too, some of the things that we've already started working towards this program of study review process is we've started having conversations and engaging with alternate programs to enhance some of our current experiences in our curriculum, because a lot of times when you add a new course, it requires curriculum development alongside that course. And so we want to make sure that if we are adding any additional course, we be mindful of our staffing, we be mindful of the interest of the students, and that takes time to gather some of that information. And we want to make sure that and I said this before, we want to make sure that there's a balance between upper level courses as well as college preparatory courses, which ties into some of the work that Lisa and I have been engaging with some of the alternate high school programs that students have in Weston, whether that be for students to engage in the program in Norwalk around the CGS curriculum, the school that we have partnered with them, and some of the alternate options if some of the courses that we cannot offer at Weston High School, if it's an interest of a specific group of students or an individual student, we can start engaging in partnership conversations with alternate high schools, or like Megan said, at the upper grades, at the senior and junior level, if there's additional partnerships with college and universities, we can engage in those conversations as well. It takes time in order to build those partnerships, and we don't want to just We don't want to just make decisions in spite because of the timing. We want to be able to utilize this year to really as a fact finding, data gathering, and an opportunity to create a system and a structure that makes sense for our kids in Weston. So with that being said, the program of studies moving into next year is not going to change from this year. We're gathering that information, creating a system and structure to then propose any new courses and make modifications to the program of study for the 24, 25 school year. Am I right, Megan? Correct. Thank you. Any questions on that?
Yeah, hi Tina, thanks so much for that. I just had a question. It's not so much about the high school course of study manual. It's more of a curriculum component across all grades. I was wondering, you know, we've spent a lot of time on sustainability. It's been a district goal of ours. We have a new policy. We've got a very active and engaged high school group. We've got active and engaged community members. We're looking into composting and things, you know, in the school. And I think an important part of all that is education, especially at the younger grades, is how do we start incorporating sustainability ideas into the curriculum?
If I may jump in here, we do have a document that we started last year because the sustainability was a goal. And we have a document I've yet to share with Assistant Superintendent Henkel that specifies, it kind of relates to some of the themes that we have as a district, and it goes through the themes through the K-12 lens. So last year, we prepared a document of kind of what is and where certain things are touched on in certain years, because we also have green teams in every building, etc. And I know that, although Mike Aikenhead is stationed at the high school, he is probably the one person that has worked the closest with the town. So that's something that I can certainly, I got to get, frankly, Tina, up to speed on first the existence of that document, but I think that we have more than people might think. It's just how to systematically look at it and then see where perhaps we can embed other opportunities in that. But it does exist. We put it together last year by a month, I believe, and grade level, and people plugged in the specific curricular things like Water Galaxy. When they do the Water Galaxy in 6th grade, then in the spring, they go on the field trip to Dan Doak was just talking to us about that. That ties in with that, with the sound waters. What they do at the elementary school, they have it. So I will make sure that we look at that next level of work.
Yeah, and just to your point, Melissa, when you're thinking about enhanced learning experiences across any domain, and using curriculum to enhance the learning experience for kids is the best way to do it, right? They shouldn't see those opportunities as isolated things, but as integrated within what they currently do in the classroom. And so what Lisa said about field trips, after school opportunities, or hands-on learning experiences, right? Tying those into the units that already exist is the best way to enhance the curriculum so that you're meeting the needs of, if it is a district goal around sustainability, which is a good goal. So I think calling it out and naming it explicitly in a scope and sequence so that it's consistent and teachers understand what and the how is definitely going to be something that we have to look at across not just the sciences, but also all areas as well. Thank you. I will look into that, Lisa, with you. We'll have to.
Yeah, I found the document. I'll share it with you right now. But
Okay.
There's specific goals about recycling, composting, all of those, and the different schools went in and wrote things. So I'm going to share it with you.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
I have a question. Hopefully you can hear me with the background noise. How are we doing on looking at potentially adding some tech level types of courses in the high school? I know there was a question of like, is there capacity? Would we have to look at other programs? But are you looking at potentially interest on the part of our students and the ability to add some technical type of courses?
Yeah, good question, David. That's what I mentioned before. We did anticipate and do have students interested in attending some of the vocational and or magnet programs that for some of the course trajectories that we don't technically offer in Weston. So things like CGS, which is more of a humanities-based type of program. Lisa and I had a meeting with the middle school as well to have a conversation around the partnership with Abitech, as well as the Performing Arts Magnet School that CES offers. And then we're exploring some of the magnet schools in the state for STEM education. Just to be very clear, we want to make sure that we're meeting the needs and the interests of all kids at all levels, right? And so making sure that we have 4 different options that meet the needs within certain pathways is important to us. We also have to be mindful of the cost and the transportation part that would require maybe alternate schedules for students and what that means for us as far as a system and structure in place to make sure that they can get there. So we're having conversations with the middle school and with Megan as well to understand which students this may apply to and which ones they may be interested in, and having a conversation with marketing that or communicating that with that transition year from 8th to 9th grade.
And is there any ability to look at doing any of it in-house with our own educators, or is it exclusively being looked at through partnership?
It depends on the course, right? I think a lot of our engineering courses specifically do have a lot of embedded hands-on activities where they're actually engaged in some of the technical pieces and the equipment that are industry standard, such as Project Lead the Way, right? That's the first one that comes to mind. The curriculum itself lends itself to more of the hands-on engineering field, as well as the skills that students need in order to be successful in those fields. And our equipment that we currently have at Weston High School promotes that as well as the software. What is unique that I'm specifically talking about, if a student is looking for a specific credential in a field like HVAC or plumbing, those specific courses and pathways we don't offer in Weston. And so we want to make sure that we can support students if they have that type of career field down the way. And so we're looking at 4 different areas and schools that would give us the variance that we need if kids are interested in certain courses that we cannot offer.
Thank you.
Yeah. Megan or Lisa, did you want to add anything else around those conversations that we've had?
No, I would just say that, when we look at adding courses, I say no and then I talk. When we look at adding courses, especially with that, I think that we offer, it's all about the skills that the kids want to learn, as Tina said, and there are skills that are embedded in many different courses. NEASC is also coming. They're going to be looking at our school and evaluating our high school in the, part this year it starts, and then the following year. What we also have to remember, though, is this is a small school district. Right now, we have, probably over 60 singletons right now. Trying to schedule them is challenging. Trying to provide courses that students are interested in is also challenging. And, if you recall, the decision was made 3 superintendents ago to eliminate things like family studies and that to go more of a technology STEM bent. And that was to promote those particular skills. So I think that it's certainly worth exploring. There are some great programs. I know that the 8th graders were already invited to, if they were interested in the Center for Performing Arts at CES is an example, but it's given our size, we can only offer so much. So there is a point where we have to kind of take that into consideration when we're looking at it. And then if we can't offer something like that, how can we provide the experience for students?
Meredith, did you have anything that you wanted to maybe add on the student side that maybe you're hearing as far as interest or pathways? I know we're going to go a little deeper into the class of 2022 on Monday, but relative to the program of studies and the course offerings over the years, that maybe some patterns or trends that you've seen?
So I think, kind of to what, Lisa has been mentioned about, being a small school, I think we have a lot of offerings giving our size. I do know that obviously does create some singletons for some students, and some students are making choices, but I think we have a lot of offerings in music and in the arts. And I think, Project Lead the Way has been growing over the years. I think that's been great too, get a lot of feedback, and also as well as our coding classes, doing the AP Computer Science now. So I think, we've been growing in some areas since I've been here over the time. And I feel like we do have a lot of offerings for our students, but obviously we're always looking to see what their interests are, if they change, and other things that we may need to consider moving forward.
Yeah, perfect. I mean, I think the question becomes, how do we gather some of that interest information? Meg and I have been talking a lot about that, right? That's the importance also of like being patient and thinking very strategically about gathering interest from students, right? Because in order to create a customized plan for anyone, you have to understand and ask a lot of questions around their goals, and making sure that the amount of energy and time that we're creating to create a plan, it's really meaningful and purposeful for them. And in the long term, it's actually giving them what they need. So having conversations with that transition year with the guidance the school counselors at the middle school is going to be important. And also, Meg and I have been talking about, how do we gather some of that interest from students? What does that look like as far as surveying them around some of their pathways and career fields that they're most interested in, so that when we as a district start having conversations with either the university partners or some of the alternate school partnerships, it's really meaningful and it's purposeful, and we have a student in mind when we're thinking about those pathways. I mean, I can tell you firsthand, my own nephew goes to Avatech. Purposely, he goes there because he wants an HVAC certification. That's not something that even the public school in Danbury was able to offer him. So when you're looking at something specifically for a student because they have a career field in mind, I think understanding that and then creating a plan around it is the best way to do it. So I think the root of some of this work is around gathering student interest and understanding what students are really seeking to explore versus just us saying we think we know what they want, right? We may hear it, we may be at the forefront of some of this as adults, but when push comes to shove, the students are the best people to ask those questions around what they're really engaged in and what they're doing after school and what they're reading and who they're having conversations with. So I think that work takes time. And so we also want to integrate that a little bit more meticulously into our work this school year before we make any decisions. All right, so that was kind of our overview for program of studies and where we stand.
I have a
with
couple
that.
of, I have three quick questions.
Yes.
My first one is, I'm thinking about this opportunity to kind of partner with some of these surrounding districts, and it sounds very exciting, especially if they've got great, strong programs that they've been invested in. Is there any opportunity here for reciprocity? If their students who are interested in things in Weston, would that be an opportunity for us to expose our students to, different learners that have passion and interest in the same areas that we have at Weston?
So unless you're a magnet school or you're identified as a non-public entity, do you allow for opportunities for all their kids to actually enter into the public environment? That's actually the reason why there's magnet schools and vocational schools and the alternate schools that are not in the public setting.
Yeah,
from what I understand,
correct,
but
Bernie.
Lisa would know
Now,
probably
that
better.
being said, we do have the route of tuition students, and students do apply, and there's a review process. It starts with if someone wanted to go to Weston High School, then they would have to fill out the application, and Principal Ward would review it. But Tina's right; it's magnet, all of that.
Okay, great. Thank you. And second question, now we're taking this year to kind of review our curriculum and look at our offerings. Is there any thought to look at, we currently use the College Board AP program, a look at changing to college credit through universities or going to an IB system? I'm not necessarily advocating for any of those, but any thought process to what colleges are looking at with acceptance rates, or what the value of the courses offered through College Board versus through a local university might be?
we are having those conversations, and that is part of the process this year. I come from a district who had all of those, ECE, AP, IB, specific pathways, that all different kinds of PLTW pathways. And with all of those decisions come with staffing, understanding how schedule works together, and understanding course enrollment and student interest. So we are exploring all options based on what students want and what they're looking for down their long-term pathway. I think we'll talk a little bit further around some of the data around AP and where those students are going for colleges and universities on Monday with our statistical report, and Meredith and Megan are going to lead that. So I think we are having those conversations, but in order to make those decisions, it does require us to look at the graduating seniors that we have, and also what interests we currently have in the school. So we're not ready to make those decisions yet, but we are in discussion.
Okay. Last question. Thank you. When we're looking and reviewing all of our course offerings and making these decisions this year, do we have representation on this committee that is looking specifically at inclusion, particularly our special ed students, and making sure that our choices are reflective of all of our learners?
Yeah, when we gather the data, we're going to be including, we're obviously including all students, and we're collaborating with Tracy and her team as well to ensure that our systems and structures that we're offering for students are inclusive of everyone. And we're also looking at understanding what course offerings we have and how they relate to the schedule. The schedule and the staffing and the sections that we offer per course is going to be another part of this conversation that we're going to have to make some important decisions around. I don't know, Megan and Meredith, you guys are in the trenches with all of that. Did you want to add?
Yeah, I think, Bernie, that inclusion mindset is really important, right? And so really understanding when we're adding courses, who are the student population, what is the student population we're looking at to support, and which student population is supported by adding those courses, which student population is affected when we maybe determine that we're not going to add a course. That goes to the thinking around the levels of courses that we're adding, and I think that's why we're taking this pause to really understand what teachers are proposing as additions to the program of studies, and the reasoning behind it. We're having conversations about our PLTW program, for example, which is one of those programs that students can earn college credit, right? And we're looking at which colleges provide the transcript for those college credits, and then also which courses and the sequence of the courses the students have to take in order to earn college credit. So having conversations with the PLTW folks, having conversations with our team here to make the best determinations. We're also talking about on-ramps. We have a sequence of courses, but are there multiple opportunities for kids to hop on that sequence, or does it have to be kind of a first step, second step, third step? And the more we work with programs, the more we work with outside schools, the more you realize there's such an understanding of kind of that experimental process for students too, right? Like that we want them to have these experiences so they can make the best decisions for themselves as they make that post-secondary choice.
Yeah.
I
And
think I would just add, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I
go
think
ahead.
I would just add too, I think the timing is really good too, because this is going to be the first coming up graduating class that has the new graduation requirements from the state of Connecticut. So I think we're going to start to see how our students are faring in certain areas. So the STEM area, the humanities area, and kind of looking at our course offerings and seeing to make sure that we can help these students meet all those areas that they need for graduation. So I think this will be a great time to kind of look at that from that lens as well.
Yeah, it's a great point, Meredith. Thank you. All right, any other questions on that topic around program of studies? Great. So Meredith, you're welcome. That this was the topic that we asked you to join us on, but you're welcome. You're welcome to stay on, of course. But Megan is going to take on the next topic. So if you'd like to stay, you can, but you don't need to. All right. So the next topic on the agenda is the Link Crew program that Megan has proposed to the Weston Education Foundation as a grant option. And I asked her to come in to talk a little bit about what the Link Crew program is at the high school, and what's her plan moving forward, because it's a really exciting mentorship program. And the first time I went to the WEF meeting, it was actually the first night that they were providing an overview of the application that that Megan had proposed, and I was really excited about it. And so I just wanted her to come in and talk a little bit about it.
So Link Crew is, as Tina said, it is a high school transition program. And some of the feedback that I received over the summer and towards the beginning of the year as our 9th graders were starting, certainly there were folks, parents that were eager, families eager to get into the building because COVID kept families out, right? So there were some families that were starting that might have had sophomores or juniors and maybe had not been in the building. So that was a piece of the puzzle that was a little tricky in the start. The other piece was, how are we welcoming our 9th graders into the high school, and what kind of an orientation program do we have? And there is programming around that. What Link Crew does is it sustains that programming throughout the year. So it is a mentorship program. You can find it online through what's called the Boomerang Project. We applied for a grant through the Weston Education Foundation. We've received that grant. It trained what we've recommended. We would send 1 administrator and 2 certified staff members for a training, and that's what WEF is sponsoring through their grant. And those teachers then create the program. And the program essentially involves about 60 11th and 12th graders that become trained mentors for our 9th grade students. So the teachers train those 11th and 12th graders. They then run the 9th grade full day orientation. And we can talk more about that because we haven't made decisions about when that day would happen and all of that, but that's more to come on that. But it's really an opportunity for our 9th graders to have a level of comfort with 11th and 12th graders. They start that mentorship throughout the summer. So they get kids' phone numbers, they text them, and they say, we can't wait for you to start at Weston High School. They start those conversations. They have that full day where they're doing team building activities. They're talking to them about high school, some of the things that they learned as freshmen or remember as freshmen, some of the behaviors to kind of avoid, like procrastination, or, one of the tips about high school that I told my own daughter is so much of it is like just staying on point every night, like doing that homework and writing things down and how you take notes. And then the social emotional piece of being a teenager in, this century, and they really become mentors. It has great reviews. So in my previous district, we implemented this program, and it's just a fantastic program. It really is a really great foundational start for the 9th graders. It's also an awesome leadership opportunity for 11th and 12th graders. What WEF was also really excited about, which is one of the things that I'm excited about, is that your 11th and 12th graders are supposed to be representative of your school. So the idea is that you're not taking all of the kids who might have had leadership experiences or the captains of teams, or awesome kids, but the 11th and 12th grade mentors are really supposed to be like a sample set of all types of kids that are here at Weston High School. So it's another leadership opportunity for so many of our students. There's an application process. We had great success in my previous district. The advisors that were part of the club said, you know what, we really want to see kids' personalities. So part of the application was for kids to do a flip grid, which we had a video kind of interview, which we had great success with. One of the other pieces in terms of the rollout was to take a group of staff here. I would want to reach out to area schools, Westport being one of them, Newtown has a long-standing Link Crew program. We did some visits when I was in my previous district up to West Hartford to look at how they've implemented Link Crew. So there's a lot of data out there to support the success of the program, and I've seen it in person, and I just think it would be a really great program for our kids here at Weston High School.
Thanks, Megan. And just to clarify, the Weston Education Foundation has approved Megan's request based on the submission of her grant. And so they will be supporting the funding to get the Link Crew program off the ground. And And then also, which is the bulk of the training that needs to happen in that first year. And then beyond that, we'll be able to support and sustain the program for further training afterwards. So great job. I'm excited for you, Megan. I think it's going to be great for our kids and our staff, for sure.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's like that joy piece that we talked with staff with at the beginning of the year, and we're trying to sustain. It's a really joyful program.
Yeah, and just to add, everything that Lisa and I and the school principals have been doing this school year, all the action steps that we talked to you here on, and all the action steps that we're presenting during professional development, it's all connected to a goal within the school or the district improvement plan. So this specifically focuses on some of the social emotional learning and healthy learning environment that Megan has outlined in her school improvement plan. And so we're really excited to also make sure that what the action and the purpose and the steps that we're taking out in the field are all aligned to some of our district and school goals, which is a focus of ours that we've really been being very mindful and astute to this school year, for sure. Any questions for Megan around Link Crew?
I'll just say this is wonderful. I met briefly with Jody to pick up a packet during the summer. And I said, Jody, do we in Weston Public Schools not have like an ambassador program? I have a kid going into 9th grade. I remember when I was in high school, we had a program like that where we got to know the campus, and Jody said we did it one time before COVID and it hasn't been brought back. And so I think this is fabulous for our incoming 9th graders and great leadership opportunities for the exiting 11th and 12th graders. So I think this is phenomenal.
Yeah, no, I think it is. And I agree, David. I just want it corrected because it is being recorded that what Jody said is not accurate. And Patty can attest to it because her daughter helped run the program way back when, how many years ago, when I was an assistant principal. So there was a program, but it was nothing like this. And Megan actually talked about this in her interview. And that was one of the reasons we really thought she was a good match for our district. So.
All right, don't quote me word for word with Jody. I just very empathic to Jody. We have this program. Okay.
It was a long time ago, but this is definitely welcome. I agree.
Yeah, me too. It's going to be great. I think like you said, David, any leadership opportunities and ways to connect with peers and each other is a great experience. My own kids, even at the elementary level, they use the Wingman program with 5th graders and kindergartners, same kind of model. So it's a great experience. So I can't wait to hear all about it from the kids and see what their experiences are like. Thanks, Megan. We are going to transition into the district curriculum and instruction updates. I will take the lead on these. So Megan, thank you so much for coming. If you would like to stay, that's great, but you don't need to. So we're going to just give you a quick update on the district literacy committee. I'm so happy that Laura and Patty joined today, but they didn't need to, although since they're here, I might as well just ask them to add in as they will. So the district literacy committee, we are at 25 strong district members that are part of the district literacy committee. They range from administrators, special education supervisors, special education teachers, classroom teachers, curriculum and instruction leaders. And our first meeting kicked off with two of the literacy specialists from the Cooperative Educational Services team from CES. And the part of that work was to lay a really strong foundation with our 25 members around what is the legislation that the state has adopted around literacy, number one. Why is the legislation here today that the state of Connecticut adopted? Because remember, just so you all are aware, the adoption of this law is not new to the country, but it's new to Connecticut. There's many states that have adopted the literacy guidelines into practice and into law in other states. Connecticut just was not one of the states that had adopted it. So we are a little late to the game around this adoption, but I think it's a good adoption because it does provide more structure and expectation around the components of literacy that follow the science of reading. science of reading has been around for a very long time, and a lot of our curriculum already meets the expectation of some of the components of the literacy structure that's outlined in the state guidance. The extra layer of the state guidance is, though, that districts are required to adopt one of the 6 reviewed programs that the state of Connecticut has reviewed in great detail over the course of a year with a district and state committee. I shouldn't say district, it's a statewide committee. And so of those 6 programs, the districts are required to choose one of them. So with that being said, the members of the district literacy committee, not all 25 members, but a core group of members that ranged from classroom teachers, special education teachers, administrators in the 25 group, we went to review all 6 of those programs. We spent a full day and a half reviewing all 6 of those programs. We received presentations from all 6 of the programs. We were able to look at samples. We were able to ask tons of questions. And we have some of the best and strongest literacy teachers and curriculum instruction leaders and administrators to ask the most important questions around the alignment of what we currently do in Weston and how that aligns to the expectation and the guidance of the state around literacy instruction. So I know I can tell you that for the day and a half, I was so happy and pleased of the members that came. I felt so comfortable knowing that we were grilling these people up, down, in, and out. And by the end of the day and a half, I was also pleasantly surprised that by the end of the day and a half, all of the members that went to the review sessions and the vendor review sessions, we all agreed on the top two programs that we would like to have come into the district and do a much deeper dive into the components of those curricula and how they align to what we currently do in Weston, and what are some of the components that we can keep in Weston, what are some of the components that we need to add so that we will be in compliance with the state requirements and so that we can really elevate what we do in Weston around literacy. The 2 programs are already scheduled to come into the district. They're going to spend a full day with us and with our district literacy committee. And so we will be able to see samples. We're going to have a full review again, and we'll be able to then dive a little deeper into the auditing process of where we currently stand with the programs that we have and what we need to elevate around our practice around curriculum instruction for literacy. Ultimately, just so that we're all on the same page, although the state guidelines require or will require pre-K to 3. Right now, it's just K to 3, but eventually it will also adopt the pre-K curriculum as well. It has not been approved yet. But we are, and I'm really happy that the team agreed, that we are looking at curricula and resources that do span pre-K to 12. And so that way there is a stronger continuum around literacy instruction and literacy resources that follow the science of the reading and best practices around reading instruction and reading resources. I can also just add one more piece before we'll open it to questions, is that one of the strongest or one of the most important factors of reviewing some of these literacy programs was to ensure that there was a large variety of complex texts, so that we're ensuring that we're providing access and choice for kids at a variety of different reading levels. And so when we were looking at these programs, that was really near and dear to our hearts in Weston. And we're happy that we were able to find at least 2 programs that everyone was really comfortable in saying that this is really going to help us enhance what we currently do in Weston and still be in compliance with the guidelines. So any questions, or Laura or Patty, did you want to add anything to some of the work that we did with the team, or anything that you may have heard from the members that went?
I unfortunately, I mean, we're just diving into it, and people are eager to learn and explore the resources. They really appreciate being part of the literacy team.
And I think part of the process of really looking at these different resources. So, I'm interested to see what these 2 that are coming in and having conversations with them. So.
Great. Me too. It's going to be really exciting to be in partnership with all the admins and the teachers to really make a good decision and ultimately design or redesign what our literacy program looks like, and what are those resources and components to help us really support teachers and understand, you know, the areas that we do really well, because we do a lot really well. And then what are some of the areas that, oh, you know, maybe we need more resources around word study in the upper grades. So what does that look like? We need more resources around vocabulary, explicit vocabulary instruction. And what does that look like? So really naming it and calling it out is also going to be part of that process once we make a decision around where we believe we're going to lean towards the resource to help us make that plan more robust. Okay, so we're underway on that. That meeting is likely to happen the first week of December. It is a change from what we originally planned with the literacy committee, if anyone is listening. So you'll be receiving an email update around that change to the date. And then the next piece is just to remind you, on November 17th, which is Monday, we have our next Board of Ed meeting. It is face-to-face, and it's going to be located at the middle school. I'm really excited to meet face-to-face. And we will be reviewing the statistical report that Meredith Starzyk, Megan Ward, Lisa, and I put together around the class of 2022. This is a similar structure from what I recall a couple years ago around reporting out AP results and college acceptance rates, and also some of the student achievement data as well for the class of 2022. Okay.
I have a quick question about the literacy update.
Yes, please.
I know this is part of meeting new state requirements, but in looking at these programs, are we excited about things that we can do to enhance what we're doing here, or are we just kind of, you know, just trying to meet requirements, or is this really looking at these potential programs bringing in a way to strengthen what we already do?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I'll be very honest with you. I think I told you this originally, Bernie. I had reviewed some of these programs before I even went to the review. And what I originally went in with is not what I actually ended up coming out with. And two of the programs that I feel very happy that the entire team also agreed, and I did not solicit or give any feedback prior to what they offered at the end of the day and a half, was that both of these resources were really going to elevate some of the opportunities around choice, around complex text, and also really explicitly name some of the components of literacy instruction that are outlined in the Science of Reading, that although we may have pieces of, it helps us structure it in a way that's really more systematic from pre-K even to 8th grade. With some of the resources, that is beyond what the state requires for sure. And one of the things I was hoping to be able to ask with the state, once we get to a point where we can have a conversation around the structure of our literacy program, is to understand whether or not we could scaffold it over a period of time and in pieces versus doing it all in one shot. Because not only is it important to identify the curriculum and the resources, the next phase is also about supporting teachers and a real high quality implementation plan and process, which we are very mindful of. I have my vote, but I'm not going to tell you what that is. Any other questions? Oh, and just to be very clear, I know I mentioned this last time, we also have been able to receive all of the quotes and have an understanding, given the schedule of budgeting right now. We wanted to make sure that we were prepared and ready to go on either end. So I have all the quotes and outlines for Phil and Lisa as we move into the budget process, no matter which program we use, or we propose, I should say. All right, any other questions on the district literacy committee update? Okay. So the other update was just about Monday's meeting. Any question around that? We're ready for that statistical report. It should come out, I think, by the end of today. I think it's already posted. June, I think, did that already. So you'll be able to review it over the weekend before Monday's meeting.
Yeah, I don't have a question. Obviously, I haven't seen the report. I don't have a question. I just had a comment. I think, when I think about these types of issues, right, the statistical report, college acceptances, the SAT, ACT, AP, these are all things that have changed so much under COVID. And I think there's real questions about, especially for our younger families, right? Parents of kids at Hurlbut and WIS, they're wondering what does this mean for my child, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, what kinds of trends are we predicting? Are these tests going to still be in place? Are colleges going about the application process differently? I just think it would be useful as part of this presentation on Monday night to touch on that, and maybe Meredith's the right person. Maybe it's you, Tina. But I mean, those are the types of questions. There may not be answers, but at least to address it for our public, I think.
Yeah, it will be addressed. Melissa, I know that you and I had spoken and you shared that. And I did speak to Tina. I spoke to Meredith. I said, these are helpful conversations that we need to have. And Tina and I also talked about, after that, if we want to even have Randy Green come to a Board of Ed meeting in the future to answer further questions, or to, she presents at PJs, any way we can get the word out. But they're aware that is an issue of concern, because people don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Great. All right. Any other thoughts or questions before we just go to the next meeting topics? Because that actually concludes the agenda items that we had for today. And for next meeting, we are going to talk about the Connecticut State Department of Education National Youth Tobacco Survey data collection. That'll be next topic that will give you some more information around the survey that the high school is going to be engaging in. But that's for next time. And I believe, Bernie, help me out here, but if anybody has any additional topics, do they filter them through you prior to that time, and we can either prepare or other than the ones that we may already have been proposing?
Yeah, if topics from the board come into me, then we'll bring them to you to figure out where they fit best on the agenda.
Okay, perfect. All right, great. So that concludes some of the items on my end. I'll give it back to you, Bernie.
Sure. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone at the schools for all the hard work that you did today around Veterans Day. I have a one in Hurlbut and one in WIS, and they were both decked out in patriotic gear today. Very excited. My son, who I never thought I'd hear this, was so excited to sing in WIS today. So the fifth graders, I guess, were singing some patriotic songs. So I know that so much work went into all of the programming that you did, and it was definitely well received by the kids and such a great learning experience, better than just having the day off. I feel like they really learned something important today. So thank you. But that, I believe, concludes all of our agenda topics for the day. So if there's a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
I'll tell you.
Sounds good. Motion approved, and have a good weekend, everybody. Thank you.
Okay. You as well,
Thank you all.
Bernie. Thank you.